Have you been part of this for very long? I shouldn't ask. I'm sorry.
You're risking everything. You can ask what you want.
If I died tonight, was it worth it? You've done this before. You must have thought about it.
This makes it worth it. This. Right now. Being with you, being here at the moment you step into the circle. Look at me. You made this decision long ago. The Empire cannot win. You'll never feel right unless you're doing what you can to stop them. You're coming home to yourself. You've become more than your fear. Let that protect you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna watch me some Andor and podcast with Candor about this Star Wars show on Disney Plus. This is the second season, but it also is the last one. And Disney pulled the fast one, putting out 3 episodes at once. Yes, I am watching Andor and talking with Candor. It's what the Mandalorian man's for. That is my podcast show. This is the second season, but it also is the last one. It should lead right up to Rogue One, and we all know how that goes. This is a podcast on Andor called Andor with Candor, about that Star Wars show on Disney Plus. This is the second season, but it also is the last one. It should lead right up to Rogue One, and we all know how that goes.
Greetings, Star Wars fans, and welcome back, finally, to The Mandalorian Man Presents Andor with Candor. Timing. Timing is so important in life, important in television shows, important in podcasting. I am coming to you almost 2 weeks after the season premiere of Andor for the second and final season. It came out on April 22nd. Now, let me tell you about timing with that. So, on the 22nd, I flew in to the state of Florida, which was very much like Andor flying in to see these rebels, and it was just as hostile. Not really. I went to Florida, flew down there, stayed there, got there on the 22nd. There was no way I was watching Star Wars that night. I was hanging out with my wife's family, uncles, cousins, my mother-in-law, and then I was passed out cold. Wednesday comes around. I'm thinking, I could sit down and watch this, but I want to take the time that this podcast and this show needs to discuss Andor and discuss Star Wars. So I said, nope. And then Thursday, we started driving back to Massachusetts. So every 6 months or so, I bring my mother-in-law to Florida and fly her back and then drive her back to Massachusetts. Up and down. So I'm getting a lot of JetBlue points, which are good. But I'm also, in a car with my mother-in-law for 8 hours a day for 3 days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we got home, and I was exhausted, Sunday exhausted, and I thought, okay, I'll get to it. But then life happens. I took one more day out of work on Monday, had to go to an appointment with my wife in Boston on Tuesday, and then I thought, okay, the next episode comes out. That's all right. That's fine. I will get to this. And then the appointment on Tuesday was for a surgery that my wife had yesterday in Boston. So let me give you a quick history. She's had back issues for a very long time, most of our adult life. So last year, 2 years ago, she had a partial discectomy. Is that what it's called? Where they take part of the disc out. And that really helped her for about a year. Something happened then, and like something just went. And all of a sudden it's like, well, we should probably go for a full back fusion. Great. Did that in 2024. That seemed to work out, except now she seemed to have this real bad nerve pain in her leg left over from scar tissue, from surgery stuff, all this fun stuff. And so they said, you know what, let's put a neurostimulator in your spine with a battery that we put in with wires going into your spine. Oh yes, this isn't science fiction. This is true stuff. And you will control it through a friggin' app on a phone we give you. This is not science fiction, friend. This really happened yesterday. And this all happened yesterday in Boston. Everything went perfectly. She's home. She's uncomfortable. She's in pain, but every day, I can tell already today she's doing better than she did yesterday. She's going to be out of work for a couple of weeks, but that's all planned for. She's going to start healing up. So I thought, you know what? I need to get started cracking on Andor with Candor, because I have some downtime. She has some downtime. She's asleep right now. Let me get started on these first 2. Oh my God, they put out 6 episodes already. What? I wasn't paying attention. Again, real life getting in the way. I did not know the release schedule of Andor season 2 was like almost Netflixian, where it's like, here's everything. Here's the first 3. Next week, it's the next 3. Are we getting like everything within, because it's 9 episodes that we're getting this season. And we're getting the first 3 we got on the 22nd, which of course I was in Florida. The next 3 I was on the 29th, and I just, I blame myself for not getting to it. So then we're 3 days away from the 7, 8, and 9, and then 10, 11, and 12. And ladies and gentlemen, I promise you that Andor with Candor will be caught up soon, and we'll be watching those final 3 episodes on the 13th, barring, of course, the Celtics are in some playoff game, because that happens too. It's all about timing, and sometimes the timing of these shows, especially when you're doing a podcast, just kind of things don't work out. And it's funny, I'm watching a show on Netflix now, and I'm like, sometimes it's nice to just watch a show and not have to think about it, just enjoy it. And then when the episode's done, you go on to the next one. But sometimes it is fun to sit and talk about Star Wars. So did I give enough of a preamble to finally get in and talking about this episode? This episode, Andor with Candor. No, I'm sorry. This is the podcast, Andor with Candor. The show itself, Andor, Season 2, Episode 1, titled 1 year later, even though it's almost 3 years later for us. Think about it. 3 years later. And you think I would have gone and watched the first season. You think I would have watched a recap. You think I would have read a recap. Maybe watch Rogue One again. I did nothing. I wasn't even sure if I would be watching the show tonight. I finally said, you know what? Let's do this. I have downtime. Let's watch this first episode. And folks, I'm right back in it. I'm remembering things. I'm forgetting things. I'm saying, do I recognize that person? I'm saying, oh, he's back from season 1. Oh, no, he wasn't even in season 1. He was in Rogue One. So I am fully back, fully Mandalorian man out, completely no notes, don't remember anyone's name. So if you're used to this podcast, it hasn't changed. It just took a while to finally get here, and it is here. Episode 1, 1 year later. What I like is they don't spoon feed us anything. In fact, at least when I hit Disney Plus Play, I didn't get a previously on Andor, and with like showing the previous season. And I have to say, I was hoping I would, but when I didn't, I said, okay, I'm just going in cold. It starts off Andor BBY4. Now, any other time in my life, I'd be like, what the hell does that mean? But thanks to listening to Star Wars Minute for so many years, I know that means before the Battle of Yavin. And the Battle of Yavin is the Star Wars movie. Like, that is the taking out of the Death Star. So we're still 4 years away from that. Which, how long does Rogue One go on for? I don't remember. Because we get to the beginning of the building of the Death Star, and it ends with kind of the beginning of New Hope. Now, I was under the impression that this season will end leading right into Rogue One. I could be wrong, but maybe at the same time this season, and the fact that we're showing BBY4, maybe... Oh, now I could be wrong. And I remember they did this last time. We had 3 episodes, and then it was like, that was like the launching off, and something changed. And it felt like we were in 3-episode chunks with Andor all the time. Maybe these 3 episodes will be its own chunk in time, and then we jump ahead, and then we jump ahead. Again, I'm completely blind. I've just watched the first one. Like, I'm thinking, because we see we're at Mon Mothma's daughter's wedding. Maybe we see her older now with her husband at certain points. I don't know. I'm making all this up as I go. I didn't even think about it until just now. I just know that we are now 4 years before Luke Skywalker destroys the Death Star and kills thousands and thousands of I don't want to say innocent Imperial workers, but they're not all evil. Like, we met a woman tonight who seemed to have some fun in her life and seemed to enjoy herself. Of course, she works for the Empire. But I like that we don't get spoon-fed. We just know it's a year later. If I remember correctly, last time we saw Andor, he was ready. I'm like, I'm in. I'm in the rebellion. You know, tag me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Boom, 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 boom. You know, that made sense to some of you. So the season starts off with this woman, don't know who she is, but she's going into a TIE fighter, right? It's a TIE fighter. That's what they're called, right? Even though this one seemed quite modern, and Andor didn't quite know what he was in for, so it almost was a newer model, even though this is old. So maybe it's a model they don't end up using once we get to the movies. Again, guys, you know, I'm not the Star Wars expert, so if you're looking for that, yikes, you know, you might as well. I mean, keep listening. You know what? I'll tease you out. Maybe I'll be an expert by the end of this episode, but I'm not right now. So this woman, she's, you know, on this TIE fighter. I'm going to call it a TIE fighter. And she is, you know, doing some things, but she leaves something there. It almost seemed like she was hesitant. She walks off. Then they kind of zoom in slowly on the ship, and you're thinking, oh, she did something for this ship. She goes and she meets this quote-unquote test pilot who she doesn't want to... She was told not even to look him in the eye. She didn't want to ask. She asked him a question. She goes, I shouldn't know. I apologize. And it's Andor. He is a test pilot. He's in disguise as the test pilot, but he's actually, of course, there to steal this ship. There's a nice moment where this woman realizes that she has just changed her life. She said, I've enjoyed my stay. He's like, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to realize that, you know, in the back of your mind, you know that all this time you've been working for this empire and the empire cannot win, and you know it's wrong. And we see where the empire is wrong and evil. And it's not killing people. Well, it is, but it's not like evil monster, you know, like, It is like a superpower overpowering a smaller country for a resource. And that's kind of, it's later on in this episode, but that seems to be the backdrop of what's going on the Imperial side, which is going to be part of the bigger story, I assume. Andor has this nice touching moment with this woman about, you know, the Empire, and this is the moment you've decided, you've made this choice, you know, you should be, kind of like saying, you know, it's a big choice, but this is the beginning of something for you. This is where you know you've done the right thing. She's like, I could die here, but he's like, you know, it's kind of worth it. It's worth it for these moments like this, and we know what happens to Andor. So she's like, give me, did she say 12 minutes or 12 hours? I forget. She give me some time. So we see him go and steal the ship. It seems to be the only thing he needed to do. His mission was to steal this ship. Why? We don't know yet. Maybe, I'm guessing, to kind of reverse engineer it and figure out its weaknesses, or to duplicate it, make your own copies, make new versions. I have no idea. But it was a very enjoyable segment with Andor stealing the ship. I like Star Wars when things don't go according to plan, and there's humor involved, and that all worked out in him. You know, like he didn't know how to work the ship. The power would turn off. He thought pushing the throttle forward would move it forward, but it was exactly the opposite. You think of like an airplane when you pull back to lift off. It was like that. He pulled forward and he went backwards, and he smashed. He set off alarms. Stormtroopers came out. There was this cool green laser that he took out a bunch of stormtroopers. And then there was I want to say a Wookiee stormtrooper. Now, we've seen Wookiee Jedis on Disney Plus before, but was this a Wookiee stormtrooper, a albino or polar Wookiee stormtrooper? Because it was white fur. I don't know if it was a Wookiee. I see a furry creature in Star Wars, I automatically think it's a Wookiee. It could be some sort of Yeti type creature. You know, we've seen Yetis in Empire. I'm going to guess it was a Wookiee. Now, we're never going to meet this Wookiee because the Wookiee is now one dead cookie. I couldn't think of anything better than that because Andor lasered him, bing, bang, boom, opened up a hole, went out through them, but kind of still crashed. He didn't quite get away. He didn't get away right away until all of a sudden other TIE fighters came in, shooting, space lasers at him, space rockets. He finally gets away. We get a nice little chase scene, and he finally escapes. What I love is when I see special effects that feel like they are practical. Now, I don't know if they built this entire TIE fighter. I don't know. For all I know, everything was a green screen until he walked through that door. What I'm talking about when it's still in the hangar. It felt like they built this entire thing. And I don't know if it was just the magic of that round studio where everything seems to be shot in, the Disney Plus shows. But it looked really cool. And I remember feeling that about a lot of Rogue One, too. So I liked all of that. He gets away, and he goes to a planet. Now, while he's at this planet, he is there to meet some guy named Porco, not Porkins, Porco. That person's not there. Instead, there are a bunch of other, I don't know. I think we find out they are rebels, but they seem to be castaways from some other planet that they got away. And I apologize for yawning. I almost said yearning. I am yearning to talk more Star Wars with you, but I just yawned. So I didn't quite catch, they were there to meet someone who Andor was also there to meet, or he was there to meet someone else. So he knows who their leader is. He's like, we work for the same rebellion. What are you bringing that ship to? He's like, I can't tell you. But he was there to meet someone who all these hostile, rebellious people, young hotshots, hotheads, they were like, he was too aggressive. So I don't know if they killed that guy. I don't know if he got away. But they ended up shooting each other at one point. They're trying to figure out the ship. They're trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to figure out how to, steal the ship. They're trying to figure out what Andor is doing, who he is. They think he might work for the Empire. They're like, he's a test pilot. He's like, oh, no, I'm not, you idiots. And they all seem to be pretty idiotic. It got to the point where they started infighting and shooting each other. And Andor tries to get away. Andor tries to get away. I keep saying Cassian? Cassian. I'm Cassius Clay, Cassian Andor. He tries to get away. Someone's running with him. That's how that episode ends. So his journey really in this episode was to steal the ship, which he did, meet someone, get to this planet, which he did, meet someone that he didn't do. He ended up running into these fools who are now fighting each other, and he's trying to figure out how the hell to get out of this. So that's pretty much everything with him. Meanwhile, there's a wedding going on, and a lot of the people that we've seen at that wedding are from season 1. we see Stellan Skarsgård and his character, who, if you ask me his name, I don't remember. Okay, I did pull up the Wikipedia there, and I don't look. Luthen, there he is. Boom. Okay, he's there. He didn't say why, but they're like, why are you here? It's a surprise. But he's basically there, I think, because that's where all the important diplomats of the Empire are all there for Mon Mothma's daughter's wedding. There was a moment where Mon Mothma's daughter was off crying. They said they had their own fight. And she's like, he's a child. He won't even hold my hand. And she says, I'm sorry. I'm so very sorry. And it was a little moment, but I think I understood why she was saying that. And I think she was saying, I apologize. You're seeing that your marriage is going to be kind of like mine. Because if I remember correctly, her husband loves whining and dining, but they didn't seem all that emotionally connected, if I remember correctly. And I feel like she was seeing her daughter and being like, oh, you're going to be in the same boat as me with that old lug over there. But there was a big wedding. We saw Luthen there. We saw, Mon Mothma. Then we saw two younger women who I remember. I just don't know why I remember. I feel like one of them was chasing Andor all the time, but then ends up working with him and works for Mon Mothma. Maybe I'm wrong. And one of them was the younger woman who worked with Luthen at his gift shop, right? Am I right? I know I got at least half of that right. But they're all on the same team here. We're all rooting for them. They're all there for the rebellion. Then there's that old dude with the white hair who I think dated Mon Mothma, back in high school or, space high school. And he's dealing with issues that he wanted to talk to her. Because if I remember correctly, either she approached him about funding the rebellion or he is funding the rebellion or funding something. Maybe he doesn't know everything. But he's kind of in on it, if I remember correctly. And he's okay. We don't dislike him. Right? I think. So there's all that stuff going on. They're kind of planning the wedding while also trying to figure out what Cassian's doing. I think Mon Mothma, or the women, and they're like, where's Cassian? Where's Cassian? And Luthen was like, where's Cassian? He's like, where's Cassian? He really makes his voice, I don't know, this isn't a good impression. But they're all trying to figure out where the hell he is. They can't monitor it. They can't contact him fully because they don't want to cause any alarms or be noticed, be detected. So they're just trying to figure out. They know he stole the ship. They know he got away. They haven't heard from Porco. They haven't heard from Cassian, and they don't know what's going on. We know what's going on, but they don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, there's another little story going on where it seems like Bix, is that her name? Bix. She is on some sort of planet where there's all kind of farming going on, and she's working with people who, now listen to this, and I apologize that I actually do have the names written here because I didn't remember them. Brasso, Willman, and the robot. Now, they're all together. I remember Brasso, and at first it didn't dawn on me. I'm like, that was Cassian's friend on the other planet, back on the other planet. So they all are hiding out on this planet working as farmers. That's pretty much it. She's friendly with some young guy who might be friendly or more than friendly with a local. Who she's like, my mother doesn't like you coming around, or he said her mother doesn't like me coming around because we're toolies, he said, which I think they just work with tools that she looks down upon them. It seemed kind of cool. There was this farming area, but then there was this big oasis, almost like a village built into lush forestry. So it seemed to be hiding there because I yawned again. They seem to be hiding there because there was a Imperial ship, and one of the women who was a local was like, maybe I saw one of those when I was a kid, and they might be doing a census. So they're nervous about being detected. That's what I got from that. But they're also waiting to hear from Cassian. And there's a young guy there. He's like, I'll put out a call for him. I don't remember if he's from the season 1. I do not remember. Everyone else, I think, was. I know Bix was. I know the dude was. And I'm thinking the dude's wife was as well. And I think we saw Cassian's stepmom, like a picture of her. But I don't remember. So that's pretty much everything going on there. And then we have our friends in the Empire. Now, Ben Mendelsohn is back. And I was like, oh, yes, that's right. He's back from season 1. No. I looked him up and like, wait, was he in season 1? No, he was not. He was in friggin' Rogue One, not season 1 of this. But, and of course I have his name, Orson Krennic, which is a cool name. He is at like some faraway like meeting place where he brings the best of the best, the inner circle. I wish I could do his impression because it's British and he's got a tiny bit of a lisp or something. It's just I love his delivery. They're all brought together at behest of the Emperor because the Emperor wants them all to work on this project together. And then we see this propaganda video about this planet Gorma. And they have these spiders, and these spiders make this beautiful silk, and the silk becomes this beautiful export of Gorma. But it turns out that there's also this mineral underneath the planet that could help give power. Not just power, but unlimited power. And that's really what the Empire is interested in. Now, they can get this stuff, but unfortunately, to do so might disrupt the planet, might, kill everyone on the planet, might actually just make the planet unsafe and unstable. They're like, well, we could move people off, maybe. And one guy's like, yeah, what do you, like, there's hundreds of thousands of people on this planet. What? Like, he seemed a little questionable. But then later, I think the same guy was like, we can make a virus. We could have like a plague kill them all. It's like, okay. And then I don't remember her name, but the blonde lady from the first season, she was brought in and he's like, you're supposed to be decisive. What would you do? And she's like, I would have a rebellion on that planet, cause havoc. And that kind of start sowing the seeds of, I guess, unrest. And he was like, yes, I like you. You're very, very good. He didn't say that at all, but he was impressed by her. So that kind of is it for Andor's first episode. We have the Empire that's planning on going for this planet and getting this mineral at whatever cost. Doesn't matter. We have Bix hiding out on a planet waiting to hear from Cassian. We have Luthen and Mon Mothma at a wedding waiting for Cassian. And we have Cassian, who is looking for Porco, on a planet being, held captive by a bunch of idiots who don't seem to know what's going on, don't even realize they're in the same rebellion, and are turning on each other. And that, my friends, is the end of Andor with Candor, Episode 1. Now, here's the thing. I am going to stop recording right now, and I'm immediately going to go watch Episode 2. So listen. Hopefully you'll get another episode very shortly after this first episode comes out, if not at the same exact time. And maybe I'm not going to be done at 2. We'll see. We'll see where the night takes me. But until then, you can find me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. Right now, my social media of choice is Blue Sky. Geek Mentality on Blue Sky. That's where you can find me pretty much most days. I really barely Twitter anymore, so you're not going to see much going on there. TikTok, I post videos, but they're all kinds of stuff. It's a lot about music, but maybe I'll do something on Star Wars. I don't know, but Blue Sky is the way to go. Instagram, I'm still on there, Geek Mentality, and of course, everything can be found at the Fans Not Experts YouTube channel at Fans Not Experts, and of course on our website, fansnotexperts.com. That's it. I'm done. Andor Season 2 is finally here. Well, it's been here for weeks for you. It's finally here for me. Andor with Candor Season 2 is finally here. So I will talk to you soon. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. And until the next episode, my friends, may the Force be with you.
Let's go!
Fans Not Experts.